Hello, fellow Toastmasters. Dynamic leadership and changing trends. Under this podcast series, this is next episode. In this episode, we are going to talk about motivation and team building. Let's start. Motivation and team building. Both these terms always go together. I would give example. One with another will be meaningless. See how? There are three things. One, knowledge, second, love, and third is wealth. If you ask me where wealth will stay stable, if there are first two things are there, that's what exactly it is. If you want to build a team, then there must be a good motivation. Otherwise, team building will not make much sense. Team building doesn't mean go into the warehouse and bring some inventory and build it. It's not exactly like that. There are several theories are there how to build the effective teams and how to build the motivation in them. We are not going into the books as usual. We will be talking one to one. So if you think the concept of motivation, always will start with the antiquity. Motivation was always there in some form. Motivation is there even in the animal societies. We know those ants, they are motivated. Those bees are motivated. Those packs, those prides, those flocks of geese, everybody is motivated to do certain things. We can understand that motivation is more as an instinct, basic instinct, and apart from few other things. In humans, almost similar. How the motivation was handled in the early societies. When the societies were hunter-gatherers, naturally the motivation was to follow the clan leader, and there will be rewards if you follow it well. Otherwise, there will be punishments. So the motivation was based upon that. That if you are part of the clan, then you will be following the leader and you will be following the practices, and you will not do against anything, and then you will be good. So otherwise there will be punishment. So it was punishment reward based motivation was there. Same thing was progress when societies become like king or king of kings, pharaohs, and uh, emperors, everything. The motivation was get more territory, or and then they will be motivating their soldiers with rewards, so or punishments. When society moved further, the religions came into the picture. Earlier, we know the pharaohs used to be the king or gods. When the religions came into picture, the faith-based motivation was ex- ex- exemplary. Lots of things people did to spread the faith. Lots of great things happened with the religious motivation. We know maximum bloodshed has happened to send the message of peace, but we will not look into that. We will look into the great thing happened. With religious motivation, we have always seen lots of great things has happened. Lots of great empires were established. If you compare the modern society, certain things people will not do. They will not go to the remote places, like they will not go to the Amazonian jungle. But the religious workers went at that time, and they were not. There were no rewards. That's what I want to say. They were just driven by the faith. So the faith-based motivation was great. And if you study the human history, there was lots of great examples we can find where because of the religious motivation, religious faith spreading, great thing has happened and great empires were established or great societies were formed. All right, so let's move further. I will always come to my three great examples. So we are already used to that. I always give those three examples because I see many things in them. So I really want to highlight that. Always start with King Alexander, the great king, the great motivator, because we understood how he took his army to the places where it's very difficult to even walk on the horseback, camelback, and go and fight there and then win. Very difficult. Those terrains and those regions were very difficult. We must understand that before King Alexander, several Roman empires, several Greco-Roman empires tried to win the Persian Empire and go beyond. They never succeeded. So King Alexander made the difference. What it was, we are not going into that. But he wanted to unify the society, and that motivation message was accepted. And that was the example that he could win the Persian Empire and go beyond that, which was not possible for the earlier Greco-Roman. Several Greco-Roman empires tried it but did not work. So that's the great example how he motivated his soldiers. Soldiers always run on the tummy or the stomach, but the great motivator can make the difference. Second example is always the great Genghis Khan, because that's another very ideal example, because he was leading something nomadic army and which was not driven by the faith. They were not trying to trying to reconcile societies or anything. They were just initial motivation was to get more resources. But Genghis Khan added his leadership into it and make the great motivation, and he made them okay, even though you have got the thing what you are looking for, but he still made them go further. That was the great motivation example, which we need to study even modern times, because that was the greatest land empire was formed at that time. There will be several theories are there, but they were so successful and previously they were not. So that's the difference. Third example is I always like Christopher Columbus, because we understand that guy was never went to any voyages in the deep West Atlantic. So why he was saying go to the west to go to the east? He wanted to go to the east. The motivation was to win the spice war or get the spice lands. But why to go to west? I mean, not he did not go to south to go to north, isn't it? So Earth was round. That concept was there in the university. I mean, those guys were the theologists or philosophers. Normal sailors, they did not have that great understanding that Earth is round. They always think Earth was flat. And they always thought that they will fall down if they keep on traveling west. So to make them go further or achieve something, so that great motivation was required, and that came through great vision, persistence, and there were several demotivators were there, but he kept on. Persistence was the great persistent what we can know think about or follow the vision. So we need some crazy thing like that. If we don't have such thing, then naturally the new world was not going to be found for some more time at least. The same concept will be there. If we don't have those kind of crazy things, then space travel or next thing will not be found. So we have to study from that. Okay. So we came from up to Christopher Columbus, means we came up to last 500 years. I want to give something way before that, because we know pharaohs and everything, they were like 5,000, 6,000 years ago. They built the pyramids and everything. That was extremely great. Now I want to tell you something. So think about it. There were some people, we know that early humans started from uh, Ethiopian corridor and went all over the world. So they were trying to hunting gathering. So let's consider some people travel up to the Southeast Asia. So there were plenty of land was there which can have a hunter gatherer. I want to point you this. How did we find that most of the islands in the Pacific are actually habitated. How that thing happened? Are those people swept away in the waves or through some kind of hurricane and reach all those islands? I don't think so. Then it will be like a controlled hurricane, what we have to call. There were no navigation environments. We understand instruments were not there. So they were just following the stars and sun and the wind, and they habitated most of the islands because when the Magellan or Cook they went into the Pacific, they found lots of islands were already habitated, and those difference between the islands and the next land was very huge. The land they started from should have the enough resources. So what made them go to the voyages? So whatever Christopher Columbus did 500 years ago, these things were done almost 20,000 years ago. What should have been motivation? We don't know. Probably they wanted to find God. They wanted to find gold. That could be the motivation. Those were the early navigators. Those were the voyagers without any navigational equipments. The waves of the different folks traveled, and that's how those Pacific islands, they are so remote. Consider those Micronesia. They were inhabited long time, and how we don't know. So that was another great example that since antiquity, we were motivated, humans were motivated. Not only that, there were, if you come to early humans, there were like three things humans were motivated for. Do you know what? They wanted to, of course, the gold, the glittering thing was the motivation all the time. And people were trying to find every metal can turn into gold. So those were trying to find that stone that it is named different way in different cultures, but everybody was trying to find that stone that which will make every metal into gold. That was so many people were motivated to do that. Another thing, they were trying to find something which will get dissolved. Everything should get dissolved into that. They were able to find some formula uh, early Kimayagars, what they call. So those were they were able to find nearest concentration of hydrochloric acid or nitric acid, which they call the king of acids, the combination, and they were able to dissolve lots of things in it, but not everything. So humans were always trying to be motivated about something, and those great motivation has the current society has been established, or the great culture has established based upon that motivation. So we must study and understand so that when we go for the next type 1 type 2 civilization or try to go for the space, all these examples will help us that it's not modern theory like always human think okay modern theory is doing. No, it's there from since long. We have to just study it. We have to just look at that from the different angles. All right. So let's come to the modern times again. So we, after the industrial revolution, we understood the motivation change to get more markets because tons of production will be happening, and there were no they don't wanted to fight wars or territory. Like if they get the market for the or consumers, that was the main motivation for the industrialist. So we saw the modern science, modern innovation happen, and the workers and the modern like factory society. That what we saw today was the established at that time. And again, we are not going into much detail, but there were two things happened. Uh, one was the capitalist theory, and one was the other theory. So if you really just go from a motivation perspective, it could be explained like that. That so the government will do everything for you, and they will take care of your welfare. Otherwise, there will be the other society or other concept said, okay, there will be the market will be driving everything and not the government. How motivation is related to that? It is because how it happened was, even though your welfare and everything, government will take care, but certain people always have more qualities, and they were thinking they were getting demotivated because they will think that okay, I will go with everything. So That was the thing that happened, and those we see the decline of one thought over the other, because the other thought definitely give rise to the inner qualities and let them get explored or explode, and uh, that was the motivation theory. If you think from the motivation theory, that was motivated a lot of things, because we must always understand, if you take 10 million people, then you don't get 10 million ideas. 10 million ideas will come from 1 to 10 people, and those will drive the 10 million people. So we have to understand the ideas getting, and that's what we see. If you see all the new things, all the new successful leaders, so they were 1 to 10, and they were driving 10 to 100 million or more. So that the world was driving with that. That's how is important about the motivation, because one guy gets the good, very highly motivated good guy also is important, because that can drive the bigger uh, at the bigger level. So that's why those theories were important. All right. So let's take the examples as usual. So if you go to the modern examples, let's start with Jack Welch. Again, that's my favorite. So right from the guts, the GE General Electric was almost reeling down flat, but he literally sprinkled water on it, put put the breath into it, and make it bloom, right? It was the motivation, lot of motivation. He used the community practices, the statistical theories, the Six Sigma, and all those theories which were already used only by the scientific communities. He put into the industrial practices at the probably around first time, or he made them more used to the societies. Other than, I think some people also might have already used statistical concept, but in GE, Jack Welch make it more popular. Apart from that, he made the community practices as a norm, which motivated a lot of people, and that drive the brand. So that was the great example. So right from the guts, people always think how you think from the brain, but he did right from the guts. So certain things came from his guts probably. That's how he changed the norms. So what about right from the brain? That's what his successor did it, and now we see where it is now, right? After next 20 years, what happened was almost same. So again, it's uh, take it as a, well, there were not exactly we wanted to explain that way, but right from the guts also is the good way of motivating the things. Apart from Jack Welch, we go to our we have so many in modern in this century. We have so many examples of the great motivators like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Sam Walton. They did not have any. That something was not given to them. They established it. They beat the society. All the Wall Street class and everything was there for them, but they beat it. Like they beat the process, and that's how they went. Because there was not like uh, anybody particularly helped them or something. It's the motivation, because the ideas. Like for example, Elon Musk, he had a great ideas, and then he put into words. We know that there was a bureaucracy, which is a great demotivator. I mean, if you want to ask what is the greatest demotivator in the history of human life, bureaucracy. So bureaucracy, if you use, then if you want to send 1,000 satellites, using bureaucracy, it was almost impossible. So that's what Elon Musk ideas came into picture, and he made that private thing. And now we see how many satellites are in the space, which is absolutely required. So those are the ideas, and somebody has to drive it. So that was the thing. Look at the Jeff Bezos. Everybody has a garage. Everybody has a car. What they do there? Nothing. Or these guys sold the books from the garage. Now I would call it as a what a. I mean, if I was in that, like say 1992, and if I'm the evaluator or like I'm the critic, then I would have laughed at that. What the BS is this? Are you selling garages for the car? Okay, or keep something else. Garage is not for selling books. So I would have told him that. and who was buying the books on internet at that time. So I would have demotivated him on every point. Because there were borders. I mean, why there are borders and Barnes and Nobles were there? I would have asked him, you are selling the books in the garage and where I'm going to drink my coffee, in your garage or where I would sit. So I could have demotivated him anyway. But, and probably that might have happened. I mean, critics are always there. So how you cut through the way, that was the great motivation example. All right, so there are plenty. I mean, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk, uh, Bill Gates, Jeff Bezos, Zuckerberg, everybody has their own examples. There are plenty. I cannot give many, or I don't want to give all. Those are the gist. So there is always difference between the great motivation, and if it is absent, then that's the difference between the greatest chain successful and something is not successful. Because sometimes there were lots of good chains where they were with McDonald's, like when McDonald's was successful and something else was not successful, there could be difference with motivation leadership, because it might be both may be same at that time, but somebody is more driving, has vision and motivation than the others. So that's how the thing goes further. Okay, so now that comes to the motivation, and now we will come to the team building, because most of the thing I've put emphasis on motivation, because that's how we can build a team. Otherwise, we can build a team without motivation, that won't work. So we should have always motivation and the team building. So that's the greatest formula. So what are the modern theories? We must always understand that grass is greener on the other side. Always. You will like something else better than what is yours. When we come to the corporate world, so how you will motivate the people, or how you will build the team, correct? So what is the definition of motivation? Motivation could be on the individual and team. So with motivation means it is the environment we create so that the individual and or the team will operate their best potential, or they will be doing the resonance. We know the physical concept of resonance, that if the body is oscillating, it can oscillate at different frequencies. But there is something called resonance frequency. When the body is oscillating at the resonance, it will have the maximum amplitude. It's not about the frequency increase, that means amplitude will increase. It's not like that. If the body is oscillating at resonance frequency, the amplitude is the great. Always understand. That's a physics, not even theory or philosophy. We must have the environment, condition, or attributes, everything, so that the person and or team should be operating at resonance or best. That's the motivation concept we are looking at. There are several concepts are there. Maslow's theory, theory X, theory Y, Herzberg's theory, several. So again, I'm not going to explain that, because there are books are there, plenty of books are there which we can go and check. So what is my theory, or how we motivate the thing? So that's what I wanted to try to explain. So when we understand why we need to motivate, we would go only on the project level, or only on the corporate level. We are not going to talk some very big thing, like we gave big examples like Elon and Jeff and all, but we are talking only for the team or like project. So if you have a team, then how will you motivate it? So we have to always understand that first thing, uh, grass will be greener at the other, always will be there. When we are trying to motivate, what we need to see, what are the demotivators that we have to see. So that way we can explain, and that way we can use it so that the team will stay motivated, right? So when we start with this, then we have to understand that when we are talking to the team or people, or look at our examples, we don't always know what we are looking for. As I told, we always think something is better than what we have. And apart from that, what we think, we don't know. If you're asking what you think, we don't know. So that's what is the thing. So what we can do is, or I mean, these are like very general concepts. I'm not like establishing any theory or anything. what we should look for is what what is the best for project, you and team. When the person understand that the project leader is thinking about you and he is thinking about your needs, then he reciprocates and that motivates him and that guides him, because generally sometimes he doesn't know he what is we can explain. Everybody will have always its own thinking, always has own brains, and we must always appreciate that, we must respect that. But that's how we explain that, okay, these many things are there, or these are the things, this is how we align them so to the common goal of the project or the organization, so that they will be providing the best and it will be reciprocated to them, so how that will help them, that will give the best motivation. And always the leader should make sure that he thinks from the team, so that team will think about the so that team will do the reciprocate. Those are the simple concepts how we can motivate it. I will tell you more examples. Let's take example of Google or Apple. Do you know they have such a great campuses? You can go and read. If you go there, you will feel like, oh, let me work here. So many facilities, so many perks, right? Go and check. But do you know the attrition rate, that means people come and leave, is almost same. So that tells like people has their own ambitions always. We must respect and understand. Because somebody working on Google, like if you ask me, oh, then I will whatever, I will always stay there. Like I mean, it will become like that. It's not always that. People, it's person specific. People has aspirations, so we must understand whatever they think. That's what happens. So considering this, that Apple and Google may also have attrition. So when we are building the team, we need to keep into picture that, okay, we respect you. This is the great thing we are offering, and how we like it. So because as I told you, a lot of time people don't know what they want. So we help them, and then we think from them, and then that's how they reciprocate. So those are the motivation theories, and that's how the teams are built, and then great project will be achieved. So those are kind of my theories or my thoughts behind it. And apart from that, the theory X, theory Y, and Maslow's theory and everything, we can always go and check. So that concludes the my thoughts about motivation theory and team building. I hope you liked it. I'm giving this second time, and probably I might have added more stuff than the previous one. So we can do this again. But please let me know if you like it, and uh, then wait for the next episode about next project management examples and leadership examples. Stay tuned. Always let me know your feedback, and I would appreciate it. Thank you.